What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse and the LCC Network for week one of the 2022 offseason. This is week one out of 33 weeks of the offseason that we're going to be covering, which is the entire offseason. It is a different beast for those who aren't familiar with their offseason shows. It's not as, well, it's structured, but it's not like in the regular season where we got to talk about game of the week. We got to talk about these other matchups, trades that have happened, that type of stuff. This is more, I think, honestly, these episodes are more fun for me to record, so you can be a little more creative with it. But with me today, I've got my co-commissioner Jordan on the show, kicking us off for the 2022 offseason. What's going on, man?
Hey there. Welcome to the off season, everybody.
You made it.
I haven't been on in a couple weeks, so I need to officially congratulate Cameron on taking that title again. So, Cameron, I know you're listening.
Oh, speaking of
Congrats
Cameron, we have a
directly to
sound
me.
drop for the Spurs.
Okay, give it to him.
All right.
I'm gonna have to cover my ears anytime I know a Cameron sound drop's coming.
Oh man, yeah. Congrats to Cameron again. We're not going to really talk about the Little Critter Bowl since we did that the
Yeah.
last episode, but we are going to. Most people already know this. It's at least people who are listening know about the LCC Pro Bowl results, but we're going to discuss that very briefly in the show. We're also going to kind of do a GM performance review of 2021 for the teams from last year, teams that we think that kind of exceeded or fell below expectations and so forth. And then we're going to go into the LCC Myrtle Beach Bowl. I'm not. This is no particular order, by the way. And then we're going to do the NFL playoffs. Who we think is going to win this week? But yeah, do you have anything to add, Jordan, before we kick it off?
Um, Nothing to add. But as you were talking about, these episodes will be a little different. I feel like they could be a little more important to listen to too, even though
Definitely.
some people might think it's just off season. But we will have like little things all throughout the off season. So instead of having to read through everything, maybe just catch a shorter off season podcast episode and know where to go from there on the off season. So could make it easier on you guys.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, no, and the thing is, like, in the regular season, like, every episode for the most part is kind of the same. And I'm not dissing our own show, of course, but in the off season, like, literally every week is different from the previous week.
Yeah,
This whole thing evolves. Like, the first couple weeks is almost like a review or a recap, an analysis of what happened in 2021, and then you'll see this kind of build towards like predictions and projections and reactions to events that happen in the off season. Like, we have some
yeah,
huge things to announce to people who are not part of the league and probably don't know. We're going to announce probably here in the next 2 weeks or so in early February. And then, there's going to be massive trades going on, like always. You'll have the first ever developmental draft, sorry, happening also. So there's a lot. I mean, this is actually the most um, eventful offseason we've ever had. I think I can say that without a doubt. When I put together the schedule and I sent it to Jordan to get his approval on it, like, I was like, this, we barely have any time to breathe this offseason. At least like
yeah.
doing behind the scenes stuff. It's gonna be full
There's at
full
least
full of
something to
things.
think about.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, we have at least one thing going on every single month throughout the entire year and in the off season. I mean, this league never sleeps. Like, we took 1 week off from doing the show between our Pro Bowl and this episode, but that was literally so we could gear up for the off season schedule, plan that out, and then we could dive into the podcast and go from there. But I think everyone's gonna enjoy this. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Uh, Early March is when payments due for the LCC. That'll be here before we know it. I mean, it's almost February already. Of course,
Yeah. So if people want to go ahead and start paying it, that's fine
yes.
too. You don't have to wait till the deadline.
No, I encourage people to do it now because as soon as you pay for 2022, you can start making trades. So that's kind of the incentive of getting it done early. Like, if you love to trade, go ahead
Well,
and pay today. And you can trade with someone if they've already paid, but no one has. So,
we should just so we remember, we should go ahead and remember to start sending out the list of already paid franchises because I know a few people have paid just from trading future picks. So we should get that list going.
okay. Yeah, I got to probably reach out to Jameson then to verify if anyone has paid
Yeah, reach out to the treasurer.
the treasure. All right. Well, let's get it going. Let's kick things off here, and we're gonna dive first into the LCC Myrtle Beach Bowl. This is a bowl game that we sponsor in the Retro Bowl College Dynasty League, or RBCDL, more commonly known. In fact, this is our 26th bowl game that we have sponsored in this league. We got number 27 Ohio State going against number 28 LSU. Big Ten SEC clash. For those that don't know, I'm currently in the league. I've been in the league almost 2 years now, going on 2 years this spring. It's a blast, but both these teams are really good, of course. I mean, almost in the top 25. And for those that don't know, I believe next season it looks like we'll be possibly sponsoring a playoff game, so that'll be kind of cool.
I was just about to ask that. At what point does the LCC involved in the playoff race?
Oh, I think it's next year. So the way it's going in that league is basically all the sponsors. It's like a rotational thing, and I want to say there's roughly 10 sponsors, and they rotate 2 bowl games out of the playoffs back to the regular sponsored game list. So next season, I think the Myrtle Beach Bowl will be going to the playoffs, which means we will too, which would be kind of cool.
Nice.
I mean, obviously there's some bias here, but I feel like we have one of the best bowl games. Like we do like a really good job of hyping ours up and stuff, or at least I feel like we do. So if there's anyone out there who wants to give these guys a shout out, who has a Twitter account for their LCC team, definitely feel free to. I think I tagged both of those teams in the post I did on Twitter. So congrats to Ohio State and LSU. If I had to pick a team, I'd probably go with LSU. That guy's been pretty good in there, like pretty consistent in 25 range roughly, I want to say. So, and Ohio State's pretty good too. So this could go either way, but yeah, I'm excited. This is our 26th time sponsoring this bowl game, and so basically the way this works is every 2 weeks a new season starts. So you can do the math on that. I have no idea how many months that is of doing this.
It was like yesterday.
It feels like yesterday, but it's crazy to believe, like 26. So the next season will be 27. But yeah, best of luck to Ohio State and LSU in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. And I guess next week,
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. What's his face? How did he say it? The coach got fired.
Orgeron.
Yeah.
Go Tigers.
There you go. Yeah. I think Jordan and I both are a little biased against the Big Ten. Jordan's a Clemson fan. I'm a Gamecock fan. I think if there's one thing both of our fan bases can agree on, we both despise the Big Ten. No hard feelings, but we just do. I don't know why. It's just in our blood.
They're just not fast enough.
They aren't. And for some reason, they can't beat South Carolina teams. I don't get it.
It is what it is.
It is. So let's move on to our next topic here. We're going to break down the Pro Bowl, the LCC Pro Bowl, the inaugural Pro Bowl, first ever. So that's pretty exciting. And this was between 2 really good owners who had a great year but fell short in the conference championship. First off, from Conference A, you've got the hat-slinging slasher. And of course, we got a sound drop for Jameson, by the way. And I don't know if he's going to get the reference. I don't know if he's ever watched Star Wars. But I kind of chuckled when I thought of this. So here we go. All right, Kylo Ren, more. There's like gifs and memes of that everywhere. It's been going on for a while now, but yeah, two guys had a great year, but fell short in the playoffs. Jameson, I think, could argue probably didn't quite belong there, but it doesn't matter. He rolled through Conference B. And surprisingly, like me and Cameron both picked Conference A to win this in our Pro Bowl episode. I even think leading up to it, Jordan, you and I had talked about it, and we had picked Conference A even in the weeks leading up to the Pro Bowl. Like it just seemed Conference A had way more talent, but COVID and injuries, and then players getting benched hit hard. This took place in the last week of the NFL regular season. This is why we will never do a Little Critter Bowl at the end of the year like that.
Yeah, that would have been wild.
I mean, literally, between both conferences, I want to say we had to make like 8 substitutions or something crazy. Like, it was just nuts. Not that, I mean, you can look at these starting lineups between both teams, and as you can see, star-studded everywhere. But, part of the difference was, Hassan Reddick for Conference A really just stunk it up against Tampa, as did the Panthers as a whole. Jonathan Taylor was kind of limited too. I think he even had a fumble possibly in that game against the Jaguars. So, I mean, literally, Conference B just whooped up on Conference A, and I'm okay with that because that's my conference.
You want to crown them? Then crown her.
And
Conference A, baby.
Conference B, let's go. Yeah, our conference. Jordan and I are in the same conference. If you don't know, and Jordan Brooks, my man, dude, I am so stoked to have him in 2022. Like, he had 20 tackles between assists and then singular tackles in that game against Arizona. So he had 68 fantasy points. It's mind-boggling, man. Like, pure tackles. I'm so excited. And plus, rumors of Bobby Wagner possibly not being in Seattle next year, which means Jordan Brooks will just play a bigger role in that defense. Yeah, I was excited to see him do well for Jameson.
Yeah, he's roster baiting over here.
I am. I'm roster baiting over my own guy on the Pro Bowl. Oh man, you know what's funny though? Even if you didn't put Jordan Brooks in, who's a leading scorer of that week, and for Conference B still wins this by like almost 30 points. It wasn't even close, even without him. He was just like, he's like the guy who got in a fight, who's beating up the kid after the kid gave up 5 minutes ago. Like, he's just still wailing, like Christmas Story style, where he's on top of the bully and just wailing on him afterwards, like cussing him out and stuff. Like, that was Jordan Brooks.
What a bully.
Yeah, it was fun. I would say the Pro Bowl was cool. I mean, Jordan, were you able to keep up live scoring? Because I know my dad kind of did a shit job of sharing the login with everyone. Like, I texted my dad, and I was like, hey, will you share the login? Because he had set it up. And he just sent his username. He didn't send the password.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got into that. So,
I don't think anyone did. Oh,
next time.
Yeah,
it's a learning experience.
It was. We on literally like the day before, 2 days before, I'm sitting there trying to figure out like how are we gonna have live scoring for our Pro Bowl? Because I didn't want to manually do the scoring, like keep up with it. I had COVID, I think, at the time this was going on too, and so I was like, you know what, screw it. We're gonna use Sleeper. I hate it. It's a terrible website, in my opinion, for fantasy football. You don't have nearly as much customization as my fantasy league. But you know what? I get the scoring as close as I possibly could to ours in my fantasy league. So, it worked out for the most part. Kind of a pain. It's hard for everyone in the league to see live scoring without, someone sharing their login so that everyone else can go and view the team. But, yeah, I think it was still pretty successful overall. I had fun with it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But let's keep it moving. Let's roll over to just for time. I know the GM performance thing. I could see us getting on a tangent there, so I'm going to save that for last. And let's just
All
get
right.
this other part, the NFL playoff pick'ems. I think that's pretty short and sweet. Jordan, do you want to run through the matchups we have for this week in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs?
All right, yeah, let me pull it up actually, just so I don't mess it up.
And if you don't have it, I've got it pulled up already.
All right, we got the Bengals and Titans this week. Bengals at Titans.
That's a
Do you
good.
want me to say them all or go individually?
We'll just go individually. So we can start there with
All right.
Cincinnati and Tennessee. There's actually like rivalry history between Tennessee and Cincinnati because they were in the same division for a long time before the Houston Texans joined the league. So there's actually kind of like how there used to be a big rivalry between the 49ers and Saints and 49ers and Falcons and 49ers and Panthers and so on. Same with Cincinnati and Tennessee, and they're not that far apart, Nashville and Cincinnati. So I think this will be a fun game to watch. I'm pulling for the Bengals at this point. I think that's the team I want to win the Super Bowl. Now that we've seen who's alive, so definitely not pulling for Tampa. I can't do it. I don't have it in my soul to do that as a Panther fan.
Hmm.
But I'm pulling for the Bengals in this, and I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning Bengals too, but I'm going to say the Titans. I think I saw a stat where Vrabel was like 8-0 and he had over a week to prepare for an opponent, like in his career. So I'm going to say with the bye week, the Titans get rested and beat the Bengals at home. The crowd will be a factor too. They're going to be hyped to have a home game.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely will be. And Derrick Henry, I think, is coming back, or is possible that he comes back.
Yeah, he could. I just don't trust him to get cranked up his first week back. But if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Derrick Henry.
I was
But
about to say Derrick Henry, man, he's a beast. Like, if
yeah,
they allow him to play, I don't think it's like, does he want to play? I think it's going to be, the training staff saying, you can't play this week, we'll play you. Whatever snap count they give him, he's going to be running through defensive players like they're nobodies. Like, I'm telling you,
yeah.
man.
All right, and then in the NFC on Saturday, we got the 49ers at the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh, I
I'm gonna
you go first.
I'm gonna go with another home team here and say the West Coast team has a little trouble in Green Bay um, at night. I'm pretty sure it's 8 o'clock kickoff, so it should be pretty cold there. I'm gonna say advantage to Rodgers and the Packers, and where I think the Packers probably have the best defense left in the playoffs this year, honestly. So I really like them to make the Niners one dimensional and beat them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at this too, and it's looking like at the time of kickoff, they're they're projecting the temperature to be roughly between 8 and 3 degrees Fahrenheit. 8 and 3. Like it's gonna be that cold, dude.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, in a way, it could favor the Niners just because of their scheme, but I'll take the team that practices there all week.
no, I'm with you, man. I think that you give Rodgers. I mean, you're talking about Vrabel giving him a week to prepare. You give Rodgers a week to
Yeah,
prepare. I think he's gonna be just fine. I don't think San Francisco is that legit of a team in the NFC right now. I know they had a big win and so forth against Dallas in Dallas, but this is a different environment. The conditions aren't perfect. Good luck. I know there were a ton of 49er fans at that Cowboys game. Good luck getting that many fans in Green Bay, Wisconsin. First of all, it's not easy access like it is Dallas in terms of flights. Second of all, who the hell wants to be in that kind of weather? Third of all, Packers tickets are sold out basically like years in advance. You do not it's hard to get a Green Bay Packer ticket, especially a divisional round one. It's going to be nothing but green and gold out there Saturday night. This is a former NFL rivalry. If you think of the Steve Young, Brett Favre days, back in the 90s and stuff. I got to go Green Bay here too. I think they've got the advantage. I think they're just a better team overall. I could still be close, but I just like their situation more.
Yeah. And then moving on to Sunday, the 3 o'clock game, we have the LA Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you think about that one?
This is an interesting one. I did not expect LA to roll over the Cardinals the way they did. I thought Arizona's a lot better than that. I thought Kyler Murray was. Cliff Kingsbury, in my opinion, is the most overrated coach in the NFL right now. In fact, in a weird way, he might be on a hot seat going into next season. And I'm saying that as a Panther fan who has Matt Rule as their head coach. But when you get
If he's
embarrassed
on
that
the
way,
hot seat, I don't know what kind of seat Matt Rule's on.
I don't, dude. Matt Rule has got to be the most uncomfortable head coach in the league right now.
A seat of lies of what it is.
A throne of lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I could go on a whole tangent about the Panthers, Matt Rule. I won't go there. But the Tampa Bay LA game is going to be very interesting. It's in Tampa. The weather's going to be a nice, comfortable. When kickoff happens, like a 4 something in the afternoon. That game. No, sorry, 3 o'clock. It's going to be roughly 60 degrees, so perfect football weather. Maybe a slight breeze, but the weather conditions aren't going to be a factor in this one. But I do think LA's defense, after shutting down Arizona the way they did, I'd be a little worried if I'm a Bucs fan because I don't think Tampa's defense is as good as it was last year. And as we saw, the Rams' offense is very good right now, and their defense is too. I might go LA in this game.
Interesting. So are you gonna go LA?
Yeah, I'm going LA.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with my trend actually, and I'm gonna pick the Bucks at home again. Um, like you said,
Again.
again, the weather shouldn't be much of a factor, like you said, so it should be two pretty good offenses just matching up. Um, I don't think the Bucks defense is as good as they might have been last year, but they have improved throughout the season, in my opinion. They've gotten a little healthier. People have started to play to their potential. I think the Buccaneers' defensive line is probably what's gonna win this game for them, and I'm just gonna say Tom Brady doesn't let Stafford go any further, and they move on to the NFC Championship, which for me would be a matchup with Rodgers and Green Bay, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool from just two legendary gunslingers going at it in Green Bay. That'd
Yeah,
be really cool, actually. Maybe get a
yeah,
snow game. Uh, all right, so our
but
last
yeah,
game is
yeah. To
Buffalo,
cap off,
Kansas City.
yeah, there you go, Pat. You said it. Kansas City being the home team. Um, I'll start off with that one. In that one, I'm gonna sound crazy because how good they are, but this is the only game I'm gonna flip away from my home prediction. I'm gonna say the Buffalo Bills are the only away team to get the dub this week, and
Hmm.
yeah, I just like Buffalo. I feel like they can score with the Chiefs if need be, but the Chiefs haven't been what they were in the past on defense either. So I feel like it could be a shootout, and I like Josh Allen's chances. I feel like they're just slightly ahead of them. The Bills are ahead of them on defense, and they'll get it done with Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I'm pulling for Sean, man. I kind of in a way like the Bills to a certain degree just because of Sean McDermott. I feel like it's you could almost call Buffalo Little Carolina at this point with all the former Panthers who have
With
passed through
Carolina.
there. Yeah, it's it's a really interesting situation as a Panther fan to watch. But I looked at the weather in this and like, this regardless. I mean, come on, You've seen the conditions Buffalo has played in over the years. Like it could be 0 degrees, it wouldn't matter to
Yeah.
them. Like they're used to it. But this game's going to be surprisingly warm. I feel like by kickoff it's going to be like low 40s, upper 30s for this one. Pat Mahomes is pretty good at home, as we've seen too.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go Buffalo in this. I really do. I think that Buffalo has a chance here to get into the AFC Championship. If they play the Bengals at home, I think they can force some turnovers in that, and maybe we could see a Buffalo Super Bowl appearance. I'm getting way ahead of myself, of course, but
Yeah.
I kind of like Buffalo, even though they've got to go to the loudest stadium in the league and play a playoff game at night where the fans have had all day to drink and they are ready for game day. It's going to be obnoxious there. Not that Chiefs fans are, notoriously bad or anything, but I just can't
It
imagine.
could be Josh Allen's big moment early in his career.
This would be huge, a huge playoff win if he gets it.
But yeah, those are our NFL divisional round predictions.
That's it. Besides our last topic here, so we're about to dive into our 2021 GM performance review, and we're not going to break down every GM from last year. I think that'd be a little overkill. I think we'd lose a lot of listeners. People would be tuning in and out. So, Jordan, I think for time's sake and for our own sanity, maybe we'll just pick, like a GM that we think overperformed, someone who underperformed, and someone who kind of met your expectations. And of course, you can use the nominations for the awards if you want, or you can go based off your own personal views. And if you want time to think about it, I can go ahead and start with my underperformer at least.
You can start it.
So my underperformer, and I feel this way because he made so many moves last offseason and last season to gear up for a dominant performance in 2021, and that's Mufasa Moneymakers. He's the GM. Is Mafali, who's been on the show plenty of times in 2021. Great dude, very competitive, and I don't think it's in his DNA to want to lose. But he kind of ended up tanking after he had some guys get injured and players underperform. Like he sold, you can almost argue he sold the farm to go in on the Trevor train and get Trevor Lawrence in our rookie draft. And of course, when you draft a player in a rookie draft, you're stuck with that player for the entire year. Granted, you can keep them free the following year, but I mean, that hurt. I mean, Jacksonville didn't play well. I don't care if you're a Clemson fan or not. I think you can probably argue that, Trevor Lawrence didn't, live up to expectations in his rookie season. And that really cost Mafali, I feel like. That was a big piece of this. As we've historically seen in our league, like quarterbacks typically lead the league in scoring year after year. I'm not saying you have to get a quarterback early on and they have to be dominant, but you can't be stuck with a guy who's barely getting you 30 points a week and getting well below that sometimes.
Yeah.
But who would you say your underperformer is?
I'm gonna say, and this is gonna sound weird because of how well he did toward the end of the season, but I'm gonna say my underperformer was actually Jameson, and it's only because I feel like if he didn't make those trades at the beginning, thinking he was gonna suck, and not thinking his division would be as bad as it was, he could have made a real run at things, championship wise, if he would have traded the other way instead of going for next year's picks. So he could add a championship caliber season in my opinion, and rebounded at the end with his miraculous playoff run. But he could have been much better, especially in a weak division.
Yeah.
Like trading the other direction, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I think that's a good pick. Jameson said it. He said multiple times to me in 2021. He was like, I sold my team too early, and I'm like, you're damn straight you did, dude. Like it was like week 4, and you're trying to sell the farm, man, because you're not performing the way you want. Like you got to be a little patient. I get it. You got to in fantasy football. You got to be able to cut a guy like that and move on. But, I mean, he literally sold the farm for future seasons. And granted, he's going to have a great draft class in 2021 or 2022 and an even better class in 2023. but you're one game away from going to your first Little Critter Bowl, and you've been in the league since 2013, man. You gotta be banging your head up against the wall a little bit after that, because that hurts, because you could have easily won this conference and won the Little Critter Bowl just based off the way Beg for G-Rag's team performed in the end.
Absolutely.
So I think that's actually a really good pick, and kind of going the opposite direction, a team who went to the playoffs. That's good. So I'm going to do... what do you think? Should we do met expectations or exceeded expectations next?
Whichever one. What are we going to go with?
Let's go with met expectations. Yeah, let's go with met expectations. I think that'd be pretty good. I think for me, oh man, sorry, had to burp. For me, I think a team that met kind of the expectations of what I thought they were going to do based off everything they did in the regular season in terms of transactions, and in the offseason to kind of get there to get what he needed to make those moves in the regular season, is Beg for G-Rag. This is a team that we were very high on in the offseason. We were right about. What's the saying? God, they were who we thought they were. That was Beg for G-Rag. He had an outstanding starting lineup efficiency of 88.9, one of the highest in the league. So he was starting the right guys week to week. He had good depth behind them too. He went 4-2 in divisional play, 7-3 in conference play, with an overall record of 10-3 in the regular season. Just great. One of the highest scoring teams. Just constantly beating up on teams by. He averaged 221.6 points per game. He was beating teams by over 50 points a game most week. They weren't even close. He had some close weeks here and there, but he was steamrolling opponents throughout the season. One of the better teams we've seen in a long time. And I hate that he fell short. I know more than anyone, I know how hard it is to get to the Little Critter Bowl, because I've never been. And I've been in the league since day one. I'm a founding father of the league. And Jordan, you've only been once in that time frame. And you remember it like yesterday, where you played Jade and he pulled out a big win over you.
Yeah, my team shit the bed. But yeah, so that was a team that met expectations, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for my met expectations, I am going to say Colby and Mr. 300. I just always expect a solid year from him. And coming out of the draft, I had thought he built a solid defense already. Had Dak coming off an injury, and I believe it was about week 3-ish he traded with me to get Jonathan Taylor, and that's when I really knew he solidified his team to at least get through his division and go to the playoffs. So I feel like Colby is my met expectation by, kind of like you said, doing what he had to do to make his roster a contender. He did that, and pretty much expected him to.
I think it's his fantasy personality who he reminds me the most of. And I talked to Billy Ray and Cameron about this. I think they were planning on doing something about comparing GMs to real NFL coaches in the league. But I don't mean this in terms of success. He's been very successful in his fantasy career since day one in 2010. But Colby reminds me a lot personality-wise of Bill Belichick. You don't hear a lot from him. You don't see him.
Yeah.
You can almost be dead to in the league. But, most years, dude, he's dominant, and you don't hear a peep out of the guy. And he's not inactive. It's not like he's sitting there he never sets his lineup. He doesn't do trades.
Yeah, he's paying attention.
He's paying attention, trust me. He's just not, he's no BS. He doesn't care about the frills of the league or anything like that. He's literally there to compete and win. He doesn't care about talking trash. He doesn't care about. I don't even know if he cares about the trophy. He's just like has that personality, and it just reminds me of Bill Belichick in a way to some regards. Again, I'm not comparing him. I'm not saying he's the greatest. Bill Belichick. I don't care who you are. I think you have to acknowledge he's probably the greatest coach in league history. I don't know if you can say that about Colby in terms of fantasy, even though he's been very successful. But personality-wise, they remind each other. But I guess let's go into Met expectations. I went on a tangent there.
Yeah, that was met expectations, I thought.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Exceeded expectations. That's what I meant.
All right.
So this one's tough. I was torn between a couple guys. One of them, I'll say I'm not picking him, but one of them was the third leg, Charles, his first ever playoff appearance. I feel like the past couple years, we've all kind of seen Charles make a lot of changes in the way he approaches fantasy football and the moves he makes and the way he does things. He is way better now than he was. He made his first playoff appearance. He went very deep. He went 9-4 in the regular season. Had a great year by every metric you can think of, and had an efficiency rating of 90.3, which I want to say is like the second or third highest in the league. So kudos to him. But I was still kind of high on his team though in the offseason, so I can't say that he exceeded expectations in my mind. One of the teams that I think did, for me at least, was sorry, I lost my place here. The team that I think exceeded expectations for me personally is once the janitor, Will Watson's team. And I know some people are going to say, well, he didn't really even draft his team, so can you say that? I think you can't, because at the end of the day, we can draft a great team for someone if, an emergency happens or some guy bails in the league, like what we basically had in the draft, and we had to find an emergency replacement after the draft had concluded. Will Watson had to go in and set his lineup at the end of the day and competed in a division where two teams dominated between the Steel Curtain and the Spurs, like two Hall of Fame GMs who know what they're doing year in, year out. Cameron has won 3 straight and actually Will beat him in the regular season. He beat him out. He went 4-2 in his division, had a winning record against 2 Hall of Fame GMs and Slapdicks, who did his best to lose games, but his team wasn't bad enough to really lose in some ways. And so for me, I get it. You can make the argument that Will's team was kind of given to him in some regards, but I still think it exceeded expectations because I don't think anyone, you can say, well, yeah, Pat and Jordan did a pretty good job of piecing together that team in the draft, but no one was looking at this team and saying, yeah, that's a team that could win that division. Everyone was looking at Cameron and Cody. No one gave Will a shot, and because of that, it was really hard to even throw them into the wild card conversations because, Jordan and I think it was safe to say we were both kind of high on our teams in the offseason. We were super high on Libertad Lobos. At the beginning of the season, we were high on Give Me More. We even said Slapdicks had a decent team. And on top of that, Eastside Brawlers is historically up and down. You never know what you're going to get there. So I don't think anyone really saw Once a Janitor as an actual playoff contending team, but he won his division. He was one and done, but at that point his team kind of just fell apart due to injuries. So I don't know if you can really blame him for that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick. And then for my pick, it'll almost be on the opposite end of the spectrum. But for me, I can't help but to just pick Cameron and the Spurs for the exceeded. I mean, not in the fact that he had a good season, like you always expect that now after him winning the first 2 titles, but just the fact that he finished the season the way he did. Like I thought he didn't have a chance in the world at winning it without Derrick Henry, and he just kept plugging and playing. Got a little luck along the way, but you got to have that, and found 2 random 500-point scorers on defense with Perriman and Jaron Kirsch. But So just an impressive overall season from him, especially a finish that I didn't think was possible with the players that were absent. So Cam gets that award for me.
No, I can see that. I mean, Cameron, I counted him out. You counted him out. I think the entire league kind of counted Cameron out when Derrick Henry was down because, most people who have a top-notch running back like Derrick Henry, very rarely, one, do they even get the opportunity to have anyone to even, step behind them in their shadow, but let alone like just roster someone worthwhile. What Cameron does best, I think, better than most people, in kind of the same way Jay did in this league, or a former guy who used to be in here who's a Hall of Fame owner at that, and that is work the waiver wire tooth and nail and get people through ad drop.
Yeah,
I think if
I think we remember he got a little lucky with Mike Davis.
yeah. The Mike Davis, I don't call it fiasco or drama or whatever
it
it
was a
was.
fiasco. Thanks a lot, Slapdicks.
But no, I gotta be honest to God, like if there's any takeaway that I've learned over the past 12 years or 11 years I've been in this league, it's that sure, part of the way you get to a playoff is in the off season, but the way you win in the playoffs is through ad drop and free agency in general. Because at that point, you're talking about injuries. Guys are banged up. Like, people are getting benched because, their real NFL team is, like, going to the playoffs or clinch their division. So they're less likely to play them a full game. If someone would have told you Alex Singleton and Denzel Perryman would be two dominant linebackers this league, you wouldn't have believed him. But Cameron, because of the way his mind works, he's just trying to find the best guy this week, and it works for him. And that played out really well for him this past season in 2021. So I think that was a big part of how he was able to exceed expectations with losing guy Derrick Henry, who's like one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah. Impressive.
Oh, you know what? Before we hop off, I've got a sound drop that I forgot to play. I was going to wait until we naturally talked about it, but it didn't come up. But Burrow's body count, Zach, has helped this league a lot, I feel like, from a social media side and, making the push for us to go to Discord and stuff back early in 2021. So, and he'd been asking for a sound drop for months, and I just kept forgetting about it. And plus, I was like, what am I going to do? Because his abbreviation is BBC, so, like, what do you do for that? So, you know what? I think I found something. Let me know what you think, Zach.
Wiener, 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 next to another wiener.
There you go. That's Zach's sound drop that I came up with.
Might be the best sound drop we have.
It might be. As a South Park and Game of Thrones fan, I've got to say it's a great crossover. But that's all we got, guys, for our first off-season week. I think you're going to see it's going to be more discussion based. It's structured, but not structured in the same way as you saw in the regular season, and I think it's more fun for everyone. So these episodes, you never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates, as a great mama once said, from Alabama.
Yeah.
And
Mrs. Gump.
Mrs. Gump. But yeah, we'll catch you guys in week 2. It's going to be a blast. I think I've already kind of got that planned out. It should be a lot of fun, honestly. Should we tell them now, Jordan, or should we wait?
You can tell them.
You
For the
can tell
people
them.
that stuck around.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention this. In that the deadline to nominate name proposals for our conferences in the LCC is this Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. Please make sure if you got any ideas, put them in, because I came up with some half-heartedly that aren't very good. So I don't think you would be stuck with just my proposals if you don't have to. The next episode, we'll talk about the voting for that. We're also going to talk about 2021 offensive and defensive rankings and how those broke down and how those helped or hurt those teams in the process. But that's all we got, guys. We will see you in week 2 of the 2022 offseason.